The U.S. might just begin a war with Venezuela very soon. Yesterday, it was reported that the Trump administration has officially cut off diplomatic outreach to Venezuela in attempts to find a diplomatic solution to what Trump has described as a massive drug problem originating from Venezuela. A massive part of this has been U.S. strikes on Venezuelan boats that the U.S. asserts were hauling drugs to U.S. borders. Here we see another report that Pentagon officials are still working on the legal authorities that they can use to back up these kinds of strikes. At least this is as of mid to early September. Of course, since then, Trump has described this as an armed conflict and non-international armed conflict, and so that appears to be the legal framework that he's using to go after Venezuela. But he's also said very recently that he plans on striking cartels on land. And of course, there's really few other places, either Mexico or Venezuela, that he's looking at. And in the meantime, Maduro is concerned that the U.S. might launch a false flag attack. Yesterday it was reported that there were bomb threats that they discovered that a far-right Venezuelan group was making on a basically a dilapidated and abandoned U.S. embassy in Caracas. Here we have one representative in Venezuela discussing that kind of plot and other concerns about other false flag plots in Venezuela that could draw the U.S. to war with Venezuela. And because I know that this is going to be politicized here in the U.S., no, you should not be defending Nicolas Maduro. He's a bad guy. He's not worth defending. And if the U.S. toppled him, that would be good for the hemisphere. That is, as long as the U.S. has some sort of a long-term political plan in place for his successor. But on the bright side, Venezuela does have a tradition of having, centralized government authority and some sort of government in place at all, right? Not necessarily the case in Afghanistan, and was definitely challenging in Iraq. But if you look at Iraq now, looks like a democracy. Just saying. He's also been incredibly cozy with Russia and China, and that does pose a legitimate threat to the United States. I just wish that if that were the primary reason we were doing this, that would be communicated a bit more clearly to the American people. I mean, we're not a bunch of idiots. At least we should act like we're not. But in either case, it sure looks like this administration is going into this situation with their minds already made up in advance. So it's just a matter of time before potentially we start seeing U.S. bombs dropping throughout Venezuela.